What celebrity did bad things but everyone forgot what they did because they're famous? George Wallace, the infamous pro-segregation governor of Alabama in the 60s, did not inform his wife that her doctor diagnosed her with cancer. Doctors during this time often told patients' relatives of their cancer diagnosis instead of the patient, especially if the patient was female. The reason was that she was running for governor as a surrogate for him since he had reached his term limits, and he thought that the diagnosis would negatively affect her chances of winning. She ended up finding out about it 4 years later during a visit to a gynecologist, but unfortunately the cancer had progressed to the point that she died from it 3 years after learning that she had cancer and that her husband had known about it. He ended up successfully getting the term limits repealed and went on to serve a few more terms as governor. People forget about this, I'm assuming, because of all of the other shitty things he did. Mark Wahlberg beat and blinded a Vietnamese guy just because he was Vietnamese. I can't believe it took me this long scrolling to find this. He's making millions off the Transformers films and everyone conveniently has forgotten that he committed a hate crime. Emma Roberts beat the shit out of her then boyfriend Evan Peters, then continued to co-star in the same show as him. I was looking for this. She left Evan Peters with a bloody nose and bite marks after some people called the cops on them when they had a fight in their hotel room in Canada. I'm saying this as a woman. It says a lot about how obvious the abuse is that when the cops turn up to a domestic violence case and arrest the woman instead of the man. They continued to date until early this year. Maybe she changed, but if I'm completely honest, I just feel relieved on Evan Peters' behalf. Chris Brown and R. Kelly. Chris should have lost his career for what he did. Andy Dick has sexually assaulted people an absurd amount of times and also got Phil Hartman's wife back into drugs, which led to her murdering Hartman in an intoxicated state. You would think he would have been ruined in the Me Too movement, but apparently we pass it off like that's classic Andy Dick. John Lennon beat his wife. He yelled in his son's ear so loudly that he's now deaf in it, a child. Cole Malone got a 13 years old pregnant and refused to take care of that child. I think you'll know the song Despacito, who is performed by Luis Fonsi. Well, this little piece of sh was married to a beautiful woman who had breast cancer. During her entire process of chemo he wasn't there, and he even told her, when she had a breast removed, that he didn't want her as a woman. This ended up in a divorce. From what I've heard, that's sadly common. Many breast cancer survivors with mastectomies have been left by husbands who thought them less of a woman's on one or both breasts. Brick killed a guy with a trident. Brick, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. You should find yourself a safe house, or a relative close by, lay low for a while, because you're probably wanted for murder. Gwyneth Paltrow, she's a con artist and manages her MLM, as well as recommending women treat their illness by putting rocks up their vagina and steaming their privates, causing harm to people. You can say she's an idiot or just that she's a sociopath that loves making money off hurting other people. There was that time James Franco tried to F a teenager after she posted the exchange on social media of her telling him how old she was and him not caring and still wanting to see her. All he had to do was go on a few morning talk shows a couple days later and say, "You don't always know who you're talking to online," and everyone instantly forgot about it. He framed it like he was the one who was deceived and people just let it slide, even though that clearly wasn't the case. Coco Chanel was an artsy. Tyler Tequila is an artsy. I haven't heard the name Tyler Tequila in almost a decade, and nobody liked her 10 years ago either. She was a semi-popular adult model when she was Tyler Nguyen almost 20 years ago, but that's it. Here's a list I compiled earlier this year. Jimmy Page was 26 when he started calling 14-year-old Laurie Maddox his girlfriend. Mick Jagger had a few rounds with Maddox around the same time. Also of the Rolling Stones, Bill Wyman started dating 13-year-old Mandy Smith when he was 47. He got her mother's permission. Steven Tyler convinced the mother of 16-year-old Julia Holcomb to make him her legal guardian, then snorted blow from next to her hospital bed while she was having an abortion. David Bowie, the beloved, managed to get Laurie Maddox's virginity and got her to bring her 15-year-old friend along, in addition to many other underage girls. Edit. Apparently this one is hotly contested. I want to believe David was better than that, but I'm leaving it in with this caveat because I'm on mobile and can't prove one way or the other right now. Jerry Lee Lewis of course married his 13-year-old cousin. She still believed in Santa on their honeymoon. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll himself, was routinely in trouble with underage girls, and even the fabled romance with Priscilla is a tale of sexual interference. She was 14 when they met. Chuck Berry was arrested for crossing state lines with a 14-year-old prostitute. He was also recording women in the washroom of the restaurant he owned. Courtney Love says she gave Ted Nugent a blowjob when she was 12. He also adopted a 17-year-old so he could bang her without getting charged with kidnapping. He even wrote a song about avoiding pedophilia charges. Anthony Kiedis, Red Hot Chili Peppers, wrote songs about it too. Catholic schoolgirls rule is about his hooking up with a 14-year-old at 23. Iggy Pop also wrote songs about sleeping with 13-year-olds too. Check out the lyrics to Look Away. Marvin Gaye knocked up his wife's 15-year-old niece. Don Henley, the Eagles, was charged after paramedics found him with two naked girls, aged 15 and 16. Marcos Alonso, football player for Chelsea FC, was driving drunk and killed a 22-year-old woman. Driving 70 miles per hour in a 30 miles per hour zone with an alcohol level of 0.93 milligrams. His final punishment was a $67,000 fine and a driving ban of 40 months. Ariana Grande. She went to a donut shop in the middle of the night, licked the donuts when the worker was busy doing something and was distracted, and got the person fired. I'm still salty because I used to get donuts there all the time in high school, not to mention. Who the F does that? We forgot how shy it was, but think about the sort of person who would do that. Jimmy Savile. For those unaware, huge TV and radio star in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Still popped up now and again until he died in 2011. After he died, massive allegations about him came out, the vast majority of which were proven to be true. Abused multiple children, both sexes, many ages, while working on TV shows, etc. But also was known as a charity man who did actually raise millions for children's hospitals, etc. But it was just a cover to gain access. He even had keys and an official advisory position at Broadmoor, a high security psychiatric hospital in the UK, which allowed him to abuse patients at will, unproven. But he's also had connections with children's homes where kids went missing, quite possibly murdered. What is staggering about this is that it was known and often talked about while he was alive. He even makes admissions in his autobiographies. People took him to task over it. He was even questioned by police multiple times, but he managed to get away with it. Still astounding looking back, and there were massive investigations into everything from the BBC to the NHS after he died. Drake seems to be ignored for grooming a young underage fan at age 14 into being his girlfriend until she recently turned 18 this year, and now he's even, supposedly, doing it to the young actress. Mark Wahlberg also committed a few hate crimes here and there, but he did serve his sentence. As a society we supposedly want rehabilitation, yet comments like this show why it doesn't happen. He didn't get any special treatment because of his celebrity at the time. I don't know why he's always the go-to in questions like this. There's plenty of others who did horrible things and got special treatment because of their celebrity status. I'm not trying to apologize for Marky Mark, just pointing out that he did what we as a society deemed was sufficient punishment for his crimes, and he has since moved on and bettered himself while not committing the same crime again. Vince Neil of Motley Crue drove drunk and killed one of his very good friends and gave the two people in the other car very bad injuries and brain damage. He also had other DUIs after this. But hey, everybody loves a good party song, and now he has a famous liquor brand.